So good evening, everyone. Hope everyone can hear me. We're going to get started in about 4 minutes or so. I see people have started to file in here, so just give us a few more minutes here and we'll kick it off. I'll be trying a new wireless headset here. Hopefully that'll work. Looks like there's audio, so that's a good sign. Got a lot of technical wizardry going on here. Had to hook up a USB hub and a dongle and all kinds of stuff here to get this headset to work. And got a tripod over here, a little studio, I guess, in the kitchen. So I see Steve Muncie in there. Hi, Steve. So Steve, can you hear me okay? Is the audio coming through? I don't know if he's hearing me or not. Can anyone hear me?
Hey,
if you can,
Bert, I can hear you just fine. You're loud and clear.
Great, thank you. I appreciate it. It's always good to have kind of a wing. It's good to have a wingman in there to see that it's working. So
yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
This headset's supposed to have about 6 hours of time, so it should be more than enough unless something goes dramatically different tonight than I'm expecting. I don't know if anyone's going to want to stay here for 6 hours, so I think we'll be good. So we got about 1 more minute here, and then we'll kick things off. Looks like we got quite a few people filing in, so that's good.
I wonder how we turn video off. I still wonder how we turn our video off.
So I heard a question about the video. There should be a button at the bottom of your screen on WebEx that says stop video. Yeah, there you go. I'm with you. Whenever I join Zooms and all these things, I tend to have my video off unless I'm trying to address the speaker. But it's up to you. You know, I don't mind seeing you guys if you want to be on there. It's totally your call. But yeah, I tend to be shy when it comes to these things myself. So I guess we'll go ahead and kick it off. My name is Bert Herald. I'm a dietitian at Carilion Clinic, and this is another in a series of WebEx videos dealing with weight loss and also featuring a food component. So I'm going to cook a little bit of food here for you. And so that should be a lot of fun. So just to give you a little bit of background, if you've never joined one of these before, this is an outgrowth of what used to be an in-person class or demo or whatever back in 2019 and 2018, 2019. We used to have a weight loss and cooking class kind of thing, cooking demo really. It wasn't really a class, but we had a chef from Roanoke Memorial Hospital that would come in, or sometimes I would cook. And we'd serve a little meal at the end of the class to the participants. Well, when COVID came along, we had to kind of convert everything to WebEx. So I did a few WebExes last year. The last time we did one of these was in October. I took off November, December was the holidays, and a lot of folks are not as interested in doing these kind of things during the holiday period. So now we're kicking it back off again for 2021. So I'm excited to kind of join in and do these again. It's always kind of fun. It's great to have so many of you here tonight. Looks like we got a pretty good little crowd going, so that's fantastic. It's always better to have a group here than just me kind of talking to myself. So, so without further ado, what I'm going to do is go ahead and share my background here and get started on my presentation. And what I like to do with these is, so what I'm going to do is give you the presentation here, and at the end I'm going to do the cooking segment. So I'm going to prepare a little meal for you guys to watch. It's actually a meal I'm going to eat myself, so it's the benefit of not only just a demo, but it's, you know, it's something I'm going to eat. It's my meal for the next couple days here. So you'll get to watch that, and then kind of as I'm doing the meal prep and stuff like that, as I'm cooking, that's usually when I do most of the questions and answers. So if you have questions as we go through this talk, just make a note of them, and then you can, when I'm doing the cooking segment, we can sort of chat, and you know, while I'm sauteing mushrooms and stuff, it's probably a good time to chat. And you know, you can send me a message via the chat on the WebEx, or you can unmute at that time and ask me questions. Either way, whatever you guys are comfortable with, that's fine with me. So let's go ahead and kick this off here. I'm going to go to full screen. So I call this talk New Year's Resolutions. It's kind of the first, you know, beginning of the year kind of thing. And what this is a talk where I'm going to kind of go through the strategies. Well, first we're going to talk about what obesity is. Then we're going to talk about weight loss strategies that can help you with weight loss. And at the end, again, we're going to talk about this little Mediterranean style meal that I'm going to put together, and talk about the Mediterranean diet as well, what that is, why that's beneficial. You may have heard about it in the news. It's kind of always making headlines periodically. So we'll talk about that. So before we get started, I like to kind of give a little bio, at least, you know, once a year maybe, to let people know who I am and how I got here. So I'm a person who struggled with being overweight really since teenage years onward. So I'm not a skin and bones dietitian that's telling everyone they need to lose weight or whatever. That wasn't me. I'm right there with everyone else. I was overweight, struggled with it, became obese. I joined Weight Watchers way back. I mean, this is, you can probably see the stamp, 1997. I was actually a member even before that, but this is one of those little booklets that they give you. It used to be, you know, it was all paper-based, of course, before internet and before cell phones and all this other stuff. So I would have a little booklet. They would stamp it every time I come in to weigh in. And I was proud of this particular one because I had lost, I think, 50 or 60 pounds by then. I can't remember, quite a bit. And so I kind of kept the little log book, and you know, it was kind of a nice moment. Didn't get down to the ultimate goal weight I guess I had dreamed of or whatever, but it was pretty good. It was definitely very healthy at that particular time. But I proceeded to gain it all back, and then some. Did a few more rounds with it, and finally in 2011, you know, it shot up to about I was about 317. I had been as high as about 330 at one point. But at that point, I was at 317. I buckled down again, really probably the most serious attempt at weight loss and weight management in my life. And I got down, lost 115 pounds. And the word fat pants is on there because I kept some pants that I was wearing at my biggest that were like, I don't know, size 50, I think it was. I still got them in my drawer somewhere. And I would try to pull them out and show people when we did the in-person classes. And so it's kind of fun to do that. People ask, what is my secret? There's really not a secret. I wish there was a secret. If there was a secret, it wouldn't be secret for very long because the word would get out. Everyone would know what it is, and there wouldn't be anyone that's overweight anymore. So the secret is just incredibly hard work, ridiculously hard work, dedication like you never believe, you know, almost an OCD level of compulsiveness to fight this issue and to really work it day in and day out for 2 years. That was a secret. So it's not really a great secret. But the good thing is anyone can do this, but you do have to kind of know what you're in for. And it's going to be a slow, long, hard process, and that's just the nature of it. My biography, a little bit more here. So I became a runner during the course of this weight loss, and I never thought I'd become a runner. In fact, I used to mock runners. I thought it was ridiculous. I thought it was one of those, one of these things that you do, as a middle-aged man or woman. He's like, well, I'm going to become a runner now. I'm going to become a cyclist. To me, it seemed cheesy. I don't know even why I exactly got into it, except I saw other people on social media that were taking up running that had lost a lot of weight. So I thought, well, maybe even though I struggled in high school, I had asthma, I couldn't breathe, couldn't even do, run 100 yards. So well, let's try this, what the heck. So I did a little bit by a little bit more each time. Eventually I started running, I was able to run a mile, then eventually 2 miles, 3 miles. Before you know it, I was doing a marathon. So it was pretty crazy. I had there was a guy that I ran with there was a group of guys that I'd run with in Stanton when I lived in Stanton, and he was the editor of the sports column for the News Leader newspaper in Stanton, and he actually wrote a little article about myself and some of the other people in the group that would meet up on Sundays at Gypsy Hill Park in Stanton. If anyone's from Stanton or familiar with that park, every Sunday at 6 a.m. they may still be running there. I don't know. I haven't been with them in a while, but he did a little article. So that's a little newspaper picture there. It's pretty cool. I still had a little snippet there. And Shamrock Marathon was my first marathon. So that was a great moment. And I guess the point of all this is not that everyone has to become a runner at all, but it's just that you can do things that you never thought you could do. You can transform yourself into a different person. I mean, I never thought in a million years I could run, let alone a marathon. And it just became a fun thing, and it was really kind of a point of pride for me. The other thing is I did not start out as a dietitian. I was actually an engineer, which probably, it's a whole nother story I'm not going to get into, but it probably, led to my getting or staying obese partly. So when I had this huge transformation, I was motivated then to help others with it. And so I changed careers, went to Radford, then we had to do an internship as a dietitian. So I did that with Lenore Ryan University down in North Carolina, and then I came to Carilion in fall of 2017. So here I am. And there's a little segment that the Carilion did on me a while ago. It shows me their meeting with a patient. So enough about me. So what is obesity? If we were in person, I'd probably ask the audience, but with this WebEx business, I tend to just keep talking. And again, I'll just take questions at the end. But obesity was declared a disease officially by the American Medical Association and several other organizations actually in 2013. It sort of became the consensus view of all the major, medical institutions out there that this was a disease. This is not just, some bad habits or laziness or whatever kind of stuff that your doctor used to tell you 20, 30 years ago. Now it's actually a disease state. And so here's some of the other associations: Obesity Society. There's a few others. This is defined in different ways. So the main way that your doctor, and you're probably familiar with, is just body mass index above 30. That's kind of what we've been going with. It's also been just described in text as increased weight at a sufficient level to cause reduced health and longevity. So that's a more flexible definition. It's not rigid to that 30 number. There is some debate among some groups whether or not this BMI number is really something to latch onto or not, formally, but we needed some type of definition, so that's what we're using for now. But BMI certainly has its detractors, and it's not a perfect system for determining, how much excess fat somebody has. But it is a kind of a very general tool. So anyway, this disease can be managed, not cured. There is no cure for obesity. So if somebody tells you, well, there's bariatric surgery, or there's some kind of diet pill, or just do keto or whatever, none of those things will cure this disease. And again, I wish there was a cure, because I'd be right on board with it, just like everyone else. There is no cure. So the best we can do is have as healthy of a lifestyle as we can possibly have, and adopt some strategies and techniques that are kind of unique toward people with weight management that will help you to not only lose the weight, but keep the weight off, for the most part, as after you've lost it. Keeping it off is really the trick, I would say. Losing is hard, but keeping it off is a whole nother thing too. So this is kind of a little technical slide that comes from this Dr. Robert Kushner. He's an obesity researcher. Northwestern University Feinberg School of Medicine. So he's written some textbooks on weight management and counseling for people to lose weight. He's got some pretty good books that I like. He's also does talks for the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which I'm a member of. And he gave a presentation about this a couple years ago, and I borrowed one of his slides. Hopefully I don't get sued. I think he's okay with it. But basically, this is just a little illustration of the fact that fat cells are not these, what used to be thought of as just kind of benign storage units of energy. Fat cells are actually endocrine organs. So that means that, they're involved with, all these various chemicals, these hormones. So, we've got them listed there. We've got leptin, we've got estrogen, insulin. Everyone's familiar with insulin. So increased fat tissue has an impact on releasing and kind of regulating some of these hormones. And I'm not going to get into all that. It's actually very complicated, but it's a fairly, I guess, new discovery, maybe, I don't know, new last 10, 20 years or so, that they've really understood that fat cells are deeply involved in these hormones. And there's these pathways that are affected that you end up influencing all these disease states. So like high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, cancer, stroke, heart attack, arthritis, inflammation, asthma. All these things can be influenced by having excess fat via all these effects with these various hormones, kind of this alphabet soup of various hormones and proteins and things. So, and again, as it says below, they're labeled as adipokines, so signaling proteins. They work on muscle, liver, and other tissues, alter metabolism, linked to insulin resistance. So that's kind of some of the science behind it. Again, my talk is not really going into depth on this. I'm not an expert on that particular thing, but I think it's important to kind of know kind of what fat is and sort of how it interacts with all these disease processes. Motivations for weight loss. Let me go back here. So there are many, many reasons that a lot of us are aware of, maybe some are not. Sleep apnea is one that comes up a lot with a lot of people. Sometimes people don't know they have sleep apnea, actually. So you have to do kind of a sleep study to find out that, but that associated with lack of sleep, you sort of wake up in the middle of the night gasping for air. And so a lot of times obesity or overweight leads to that. A lot of us are probably familiar with high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, heart problems of various kinds. So coronary heart disease, kind of the clogging of the arteries, heart failure, abnormal heart geometries can result from obesity, atrial fibrillation, which is this kind of arrhythmia where the heart kind of does its own thing and starts beating crazy. So these are just a few heart related conditions. Inflammation is associated with excess fat as well. That can cause a lot of problems if you have pain. So right below that is osteoarthritis. So increased inflammation often kind of exacerbates pain. And for people with that, it's helpful to lose weight so that some of that can kind of taper down. And again, cancers can be associated with obesity. And one key point I want to pass along, and so you might think, well, what do I have to do to improve these things? So what's been shown in studies is somewhere between 5 and 10%, I've even seen 3% mentioned, will bring some significant health benefits to all of these conditions. So by significant, it means that if you look at laboratory numbers, maybe for diabetes, your blood sugar, maybe your blood pressure, any of these things, you'll start noticing some benefit. And so it's not always important, for us to get down to some weight that we haven't seen since we were, 18. But it is important to try to see some loss, between this 5 and 10% to really help ourselves. And so that's a key thing because, sometimes, we set these goals that are just so outrageous that, it's pretty hard to make those. But I would say most people, a lot of people, they can get to the 5 to 10%. It will take time. It's not easy, but it's definitely very achievable for a lot of people. This is just a little graph on the scope of the problem with obesity. So it just continues to ramp up and up and up. We're almost at 50%. I mean, we're at 42% now for adults. Severe obesity, which is like, they have these different classes of obesity, and that's rising as well. So sad situation. This is data from our country, but it's, you'll see similar stats in other countries. This is how it's distributed nationwide, and you can see kind of deep south, it's got a little bit more of a problem than the rest of the country. Kind of the eastern half is a little bit more problematic. Don't know the reasons why the Western's better. We can speculate, I always kind of throw it out there, maybe more exercise or, whatever, I don't know. But for the most part, that's kind of how it's distributed across the country. And so another question that comes up a lot of times is, who is successful in doing this? We all talk about weight loss, but all we really ever hear about, I feel like, for the most part, is kind of these one-hit wonders. Some dude that does something, loses weight, he's on the Today Show, and then you never hear from him again. Maybe you hear from him again 5 years later, he's gained it all back. So, are there people who do all this, they lose all this weight, and they keep it off essentially forever? Well, the answer is yes. There are people like that. It's called, there's a research organization called the National Weight Control Registry that keeps track of these people as part of a research endeavor. It was started in '94 by Brown Medical School, along with University of Colorado, and they're tracking over 10,000 people that have maintained a loss of 30 pounds or more for more than 1 year. So they do research on this group, and it's just an ongoing effort. They have papers that pop out every year or two, and they've got some stats that they summarized from one of their recent studies. 78% eat breakfast every day. 75% of these people, they weigh themselves at least once a week. 62% watch less than 10 hours of TV per week. 90% exercise, and on average about 1 hour each day. And that's, to me, when I was reading these things, I mean, all these things are kind of interesting, but that one really stuck out because, how many people really exercise an hour a day every day? I mean, I'm pretty fit and healthy, but, for me, sometimes that's a tall order, as well. So it's pretty amazing, that they're able to do that, but they have to do that. I mean, to keep the weight off, they're very, very active, and it doesn't mean they're running or doing anything extreme. They're just, usually walking is primarily what these people are doing. The eating breakfast every day, I think, is important because a lot of people that are overweight tend to skip breakfast. It's a very common phenomenon, or sometimes they'll skip breakfast and lunch, or one or the other. So it's important to eat the 3 meals a day. It seems like that really helps support good weight. And of course, we're all familiar probably with, couch potato syndrome, too much TV, too much screen time. And so they don't engage in very excessive screen time. And weighing themselves, I mean, that gets down to, we got to be vigilant. We got to kind of keep tracking what's going on. And that's the part I think a lot of people have trouble with. I mean, it can be tedious. I mean, to kind of have this tracking syndrome going on where you're kind of engaged, figuring out how many calories you're having, that kind of thing, weighing yourself regularly, that gets old. But those are some habits that are kind of needed to really, keep this at bay. And, we can delve into more details as far as, weight loss phase versus maintenance phase. If you guys have questions later, you can ask. I mean, there's some subtle differences there, but in general, a lot of these habits kind of continue on. So weight loss strategies. So these are some of the basic strategies that really are in any, I think, serious weight loss program that's out there. You've got to have some type of healthy baseline diet. So you need to have a way of eating. So when I say diet, it doesn't mean diet for weight loss. It means this is how I'm going to eat the rest of my life. This is a diet in terms of eating. And that's what Mediterranean diet really is. It's a way of eating. It's not a special fad diet or anything for weight loss. It's just, this is how we eat. So a baseline healthy diet that I will refer to is either kind of this MyPlate USDA pattern or Mediterranean diet. They're both pretty similar. These are very healthy diet patterns. There's a few others out there. I mean, you may have heard of the DASH diet. That's another eating pattern. They're all very similar. They're not dramatically different. They basically support very large amounts of fruits and vegetables, pretty much at every meal. You want to have a lot of fruits and vegetables on your plate. You want to have healthy, lean proteins. You want to have very limited added sugars, very low saturated fat. And when you have grains, you want whole grains. You don't want to have a lot of white bread products. You don't want to have a lot of crackers and things. You want to have whole grain products, things like oats, things like whole wheat bread. You want to have dairy, so you want to have something that gives you the calcium and the vitamin D, however you refer to that. It could be, soy milk, it could be almond milk, it could be cow's milk. There's a lot of different ways to get that kind of food group there. So that's the baseline pattern. That's a way that we want people to eat for life. So again, it's not just to lose 30 pounds, it's forever. Tracking and weighing, again, extremely important for any real serious success with the weight loss phase. Maintenance, I think, is a little bit different. Again, you can kind of take some of the focus off with maintenance, but you still have to kind of weigh periodically. Probably need, wouldn't hurt to spot check your tracking periodically. But tracking is very vital for continued long-term success for a long-term weight loss program. You got to have some way. So tracking means there's some way of recording what you're eating and drinking, and even exercise, you can record that as well. And there's different aspects to these tracking programs. There's social aspects. You can put friends on there. You can encourage each other. These days there's recipes that you can share on these apps. The apps are very powerful now, and there's just a lot of features. It's more all the time. It's hard to even keep up with all the changes all the time with the apps. Exercise programs. So again, everyone knows eat less, exercise more. That's the key to weight loss. So that's pretty much it. You got to have some kind of exercise program. So like I said earlier, you don't have to become a runner or a Tour de France bicyclist or whatever. You just need to be active every day, pretty much every day, at least 5 days a week. 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week is sort of the basic level of exercise that we're trying to get people to. Not everyone starts out there. People have mobility problems. Some people are wheelchair bound. There's all different ways of doing exercise, and there's not a one size fits all. Carilion has a program called FitRx that's all they do is work with people to kind of develop a fitness regimen. And so I'll send patients over there if they're willing to do that, or if they want to do that. But basically, you want to have the cardio kind of 5 days a week, and strength training is important too. You need to have a couple days of strength training. So that could be literally lifting weights. That could be, like these circuit training machines at the gym back when we all used to go to gyms. It's just you want to work the major muscle groups, basically. You want to kind of do that twice a week. It could even be like yoga class, stretchy bands. There's a number of ways of doing it. What that does is kind of help support your lean body mass. Lean body mass is your muscle mass. That helps keep your metabolism going as you lose weight. When people lose weight, they typically also can lose muscle. So it's important to kind of do these strength programs too, to kind of preserve muscle, preserve metabolism, preserve muscle, and assist with this. Finally, support. I think that's one of the most important aspects of this whole thing. And a lot of times I think it gets sort of neglected or ignored for whatever reason, but we can do these things on our own. Some of us can, but it's really helpful. People do so much better when they have some type of support, and that can be friends and family members. It can be, like myself, the dietitian. It can be online support groups. There's just a lot of different avenues for that now. Weight Watchers and groups like that would have weekly meetings. They're probably on Zoom nowadays. But it's really, it's a good part of this that it keeps you motivated, because it can be months or years, really tracking and measuring like crazy. And there's low times, there's holidays, there's things that throw us off track. If you have that support system in there, that can sort of help you get through those things. So that's very important, I think. And there's no shame in having support. We don't have to all be Lone Rangers. It's okay to have support. It's been shown in studies to be very helpful. So this is a handout that I give most of my patients. It's called the My Plate Checklist. You can get this off of the USDA homepage. If you go to choosemyplate.gov, they have these on there, and it's a real simple illustration of a healthy, balanced diet for 2,000 calories a day. Now, depending upon your weight and your age and height and a bunch of factors, 2,000 calories may not be the appropriate calorie level for you to lose weight. There's different calorie levels, and you have to kind of just figure out what the appropriate level is, and I can do that when I meet with patients. These apps can help you with that. But this is for 2,000, and it just shows you that 2 servings of fruits, 2.5 for vegetable. Make half your grains whole grains. That's 6 ounces of that. And we got lean proteins here, and we got the dairy. And it tells you at the bottom things to limit. You want to limit your sugars. You want to limit the saturated fat. You want to limit the sodium. Those are kind of 3 very key important things for heart health and longevity that we want to limit or eliminate. Like added sugar, saturated fat, those are things you really don't need. You don't need added sugars in your diet at all. So, and I have to make a distinction too. Added sugars is not the same thing as when you see the word sugar. Sometimes on food labels you'll see sugar that's inherent to the fruit. It's like an apple has sugar in it. Well, it's actually it's part of the apple. Added sugars is a different thing. That's literally, it's added in a manufacturing process. It's a processed food. Whenever you see the word added sugars on a label, that's sugars that is added, and you really don't need that in your diet. Saturated fat is hard to avoid. I mean, it's in a lot of meat products. It's kind of part, it's basically animal fat, and that's bad for your heart. But you can limit it by getting kind of lean meats like chicken and turkey. Fish has very healthy types of fat and not the saturated as much. So you just want to really try to minimize the saturated. And sodium, of those 3 things, I feel like sodium might be the hardest, honestly, to limit. Pretty much anytime you eat out, anytime you eat something out of a box or a can or you eat at a restaurant, it's going to be loaded and really heavily loaded with salt. It's really, really unfortunate because, if you do some cooking, and I'm sure a lot of you out here, probably some of you anyway, are better cooks than I am. I'm not an expert chef or cook or anything like that. But anyone who's familiar with cooking, I mean, you can salt things just enough to kind of provide flavor, but you don't need to dump the whole salt shaker in there. But unfortunately, for some reason, a lot of restaurants and most processed foods are just very, very heavily salted, way beyond what you really need to do. So typically most Americans are getting, 3,500, 4,000 milligrams a day, probably double what this is here. 2,300 is pretty tough to do, but you can. You just have to usually make all your own foods and then you can do it. Or just be very careful when you're shopping, look for products that are labeled as reduced sodium. They're out there, but they're harder to find. So this is the back of the sheet, and this will give people an idea what portion sizes look like. So what I like to tell people is, yeah, a cup is a portion of fruits or a portion of vegetables, but a cup is also about the size of a baseball. So if you can just imagine a baseball, you know what a cup is. So that kind of helps when you're just trying to figure how much to eat. You really can't go wrong eating more fruits and vegetables than that, but that's just kind of the minimum. If you have sort of these 2 baseballs on your plate of fruits and vegetables, you can kind of check the green check mark and say, I'm good for this meal. I've sort of met the goal. Similarly with protein, we use the analog of a deck of cards. So a deck of cards is about 3 ounces. A lot of servings of fish or meat, you can kind of see are kind of, 3 ounces, 4 ounces or so. And so for this 2,000 calorie plan, you really just need a little more than about a deck and a third of card size of meat for the day, and that will help you meet that goal. You can also meet it through other things like eggs, peanut butter, beans, nuts, and seeds. And this sheet gives you some quick portion guides as how you can meet these different goals. So I think it's really kind of foundational and really helpful to have this as a reference. So moving on, so MyFitnessPal. So this is an example of a tracking app. And I'm currently kind of going through different apps to kind of review them. It's a very slow, sluggish process. I'm hoping to get some students to help me with this because students are so lightning fast with apps, and they could probably review a dozen apps in a week without any problem. But This is one of the more popular and one of the more powerful apps that are out there that are free for you to use and download onto your smartphone or tablet or whatever. You can also do it on the computer, and these snapshots actually are from the computer screen. So it's pretty versatile. And so you just put in your stats, and it tells you a calorie goal to try to achieve. And this is me from a few years back, I guess, back when they were showing Carmina Burana somewhere, apparently. Anyway, it sets a calorie goal. You can kind of see it says 1830. That was my calorie goal at that time, I guess. And you can see your breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. You just enter all that stuff in there. Probably, I mean, I don't know, it might almost be good to have a talk just on apps, walking through all the screens of an app, showing you all the things you can do, because definitely there's some tricks with the app. You can enter recipes in here. You can save meals. If you eat the same type of meal over and over, you can save it, give it a name. That way, next time you have that meal, you just pull it up real quick and boom, it's in there. You don't have to do much work. These apps are getting smarter and smarter and better and faster and easier to use, I think. And so the argument of, it's I don't want to record this, it's too hard, that argument is getting less and less now. It's getting very easy to use these things. So that's great. I mean, I think it's helping a lot of people. It's definitely a lot better than the paper methods from days of yore, I can tell you that. So this is the app screen. So the previous was the computer. This is some screens from the actual app on the iPhone. This is how it looks in the iPhone. If you've got a Samsung device, it'll look a little different. All the data is still in there, same same functionality, but just it looks a little different. So you have the diary, you've got some goals there for your weight, activity level. That'll help you set a calorie target, and you can see trends and things. So another piece of this puzzle is the exercise, very important. Physical activity for sustainable weight loss. So these are the guidelines again. The guidelines from Dietary Guidelines for Americans, which also comes from College of Sports Medicine, is where these things come from. But it's 150 minutes a week of what they call moderate intensity exercise, or you can sort of switch this out for 75 minutes a week of vigorous. So moderate intensity is defined loosely as you can talk conversationally with somebody while you're doing it, but you wouldn't really be able to sing a song. So you're breathing heavier. You're breathing heavier than you would be just for a normal kind of walking activity, but you're not pushing all out. So if you're doing, if you're doing the vigorous, that's more like jogging or like maybe a pretty strenuous, I don't know, like Zumba class or whatever, kind of aerobics. That's where you really have trouble carrying on a conversation at times. I mean, you can talk in bursts, but it's kind of hard to carry on a conversation. So that's a quick and easy way to know kind of what level you're at with your exercise. Because, I mean, if you're doing just slow walks and stuff, it may not be enough to really have a significant impact on as far as burning calories. But again, I mean, I've got patients that they're not able to walk, or if they can walk, it's very slow. So you do what you can do. I mean, no one's going to say, oh, you have to hit this goal, or you fail or something. This is goals established for kind of people that don't have a lot of significant barriers to exercise. For those that have barriers, there's things like there's exercises you can do from a chair. You don't even have to get out of the chair. It's all upper body work. It's stretchy bands. It's things like that. So it changes. What it is will change depending upon what you're able to do. Again, College of Sports Medicine has positioned that 250 minutes a week is even better than 150. So for weight loss, for really strong support for weight loss, getting about 45 to 50 minutes a day of kind of this moderate intensity is really, really beneficial. Again, that's very hard to do. Practically speaking, very few of my patients achieve this. So just keep that in mind. But it's great if you can, even for short periods of time. It'll give your weight loss a real boost. But I would say if you can do that 150 minutes a week, you're doing pretty good, and at least try to aim for that if you can. The National Weight Control Registry, again, Harkening back to that slide before, most of those people are doing about an hour a day of walking. That's how they get it in. And there's some percentage breakdown. Some of them do bike rides, aerobics, weightlifting. I guess some really just focus on weight training. That's another avenue as well. So support. Research shows behavioral interventions combined with the diet and exercise are more successful than these elements alone. So just want to hammer that point home because I think that is pretty important. My impression is a lot of people, I don't know, I mean, there's emotional aspects to weight loss. Some people feel embarrassed about it. It's a private matter. They don't want to share this with anybody else. So I understand that. I mean, that's tough. But you know, if you can share that, if you have people that you trust, you know, they're friendly with you, loved ones, whatever, again, it's something that is very helpful. Again, not to toot my own horn, but registered dietitians can also provide a lot of that support. Many in-person or online resources exist. So here's a few of them. Weight Watchers, TOPS are kind of, I would say, the main ones. There's also, there's Overeaters Anonymous. And I think during COVID, Overeaters Anonymous has been more active. TOPS has sort of shut down, is my impression. If anyone is out there and belongs to TOPS, you know, later on they want to chime in, say no, they're still going. I don't know. I talked to somebody from TOPS a few months back, and it sounded like they were just kind of on, you know, running on fumes. They weren't really doing much. I think Weight Watchers and Overeaters Anonymous are still going, maybe via Zoom right now. I mean, obviously, all this will change once the COVID situation you know, goes away. We're all hoping for that. Slimming World, I think I may have to take that off the slide. I'm not even sure they exist anymore, or might just be mostly, they're kind of in the UK, kind of British, and I think they're also in the US to some degree, but I don't feel like I've really heard much from them. And then Jenny Craig's been around quite a while too, kind of along with Weight Watchers, kind of a similar thing. MyFitnessPal, Calorie King, Spark People, these apps, these are apps for weight loss. They also have a community as well that you can network into. You can add your friends on there that you know in real life, or you can actually make internet friends. I caution people, however, internet is the internet, and a lot of us are probably familiar that there's weird stuff on the internet. So just be wary of that if you decide to do that. You know, some people are kind of mean on the internet. So I think what I recommend for people is, you know, if you're going to do social media kind of stuff to support your weight loss, try to have a curated group. I mean, people that you trust and know, at least to start out with, and you know, just be careful with some of the other stuff. It depends on how thick your skin is, I guess, but I mean, you can get some real jerks on the internet, I think, sometimes. So kind of a final word about all this. So before starting weight loss, one of the things you got to do, I think, is really assess your motivation level. And it's not just me thinking this, it's actually kind of guidelines from our academy and people who research this. So you really have to kind of sit down and think, okay, do I have the time to devote to this? Is this something I really want to do? If my motivation level on a scale from 1 to 10 is like a 2 or a 3, with 1 being the lowest, if I'm really not that motivated, it's just like the doctor's telling me I need to do it, probably this is not going to be real successful, honestly. Maybe it's not a good time for you to start it. Maybe another time would be. I mean, things happen. I mean, things get busy or crazy, and maybe you're just not really ready yet. And you know, that's one of those things where if you're just not really that motivated, you're not going to have success. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to beat yourself up, and you know, so you do have to kind of look at that. Of course, it probably goes without saying, but I feel like I should say it anyway. You always need to meet with your physician before you start any type of weight loss program of any kind. And if you're looking for a dietitian referral, and of course I'm here, you can ask for me, but you know, you can ask them for a referral, and they'll send out the referral hopefully to me, and you can meet with me. So work on barriers to change. So this is another big aspect. This is something I feel like has really been pounded into me as a practitioner over the last 3 years. People come to the table with lots of pretty significant life issues going on. Sometimes they need mental health counseling, really. And honestly, it's not a bad thing for any of us that are trying to do weight loss. Mental health counseling is kind of a nice component to have as part of your team of support, kind of with your doctor, your dietitian, physical therapy, and then mental health. It's kind of another piece of the puzzle. A lot of people, there's reasons why, possibly some of this weight came on us. I mean, there are some things that we have zero control over. I mean, there's obviously, there's genetics and things that are a factor, but sometimes there's depression, there's mental health issues, and some of that, people eat for stress. People eat out of sadness, out of anger, out of stress. Stress is probably one of the biggest reasons. I would say stress and depression, probably the two biggest emotional issues. Sometimes that does need a mental health kind of consultation to kind of get people on the right track with some of that. Because if those barriers are not dealt with, if you're just sort of sweeping them under the rug and like, let's do this weight loss thing, they'll come back around usually and undermine your ability to really be successful with weight loss. Weight loss itself, the process of losing weight, depriving yourself of some calories so that you see the number go down on the scale, that has a mental toll. It can cause depression all by itself. So if people are realizing they're more sad after they lost 20 pounds, well, I mean, that can be a factor too. So you have to kind of have the mental house in order as best you can and address any kind of barriers that you may see, weird habits, things in your environment. Maybe, you've got a roommate that brings in, Krispy Kremes all the time and throw them in front of you. Sometimes you have to deal with those things. There's all kinds of barriers out there. So that's actually, really one of the biggest keys starting out on this is making sure you're addressing those things. Talk to the dietitian, talk to your doctor, talk to your counselor. I would say even talk to your religious representatives, anyone in your life that you can talk to address some of these things. Try to get them addressed and, try to work through those because they can really, you can just be feeling like, you're just spinning your wheels because, every time you have a stressful day, you're so conditioned to, pulling out the popcorn or whatever it is, the candy, that you just can't break free of that. I mean, it just locks onto you. Time and time again, I hear these stories, and it's really, really challenging. And I don't think any of us are free from that. I mean, I've had some of that myself. I know friends, family have that. I mean, it's food is comfort. Food, it releases serotonin into your brain. It's a neurotransmitter, causes relaxation. So it can be a big issue. So, and again, how to solve that? I try to work with patients to redirect some of those energies into non-food directions. The best non-food is exercise, I would say, or one of the best. Taking up yoga, taking up running, walking, cycling, swimming, just doing your physical activity that you need to do anyway. You do that around that same time frame when you were driven to snack or binge on something. And exercise can actually also calm you. So, food can provide that calming, but so does exercise. And so people can actually redirect some of that and find a different, more healthy way to de-stress from their hard day at work or whatever's going on. So that's another option. Alrighty, so that pretty much concludes all the intro on the weight loss part of it. So we've got, how much time we got here? 6:45, so about 15 minutes. So I'm going to go through information on the Mediterranean diet and about the meal that I'm going to showcase for tonight. So this is an example of the Mediterranean diet pyramid. What you'll find if you do research on the Mediterranean diet is there's different variations of it, different pictures of it. It's not like physics or engineering. There's not a precise definition. Well, you need to eat 2.3 servings of whole grains and 5.3 servings of yellow vegetables a week. Or you're not going to find that really with any nutrition topic, maybe save for like recommended daily allowances for vitamins and minerals. That's pretty set in stone. But for a lot of the stuff with types of diet, you're going to see a lot of flexibility and it's not really precisely defined. But anyway, having said that, there are some characteristics to Mediterranean diet. So the foundation of this pyramid you can see is just loaded with fruits and vegetables. I mean, it's just, it's like this bounty of fruits and vegetables everywhere you look. Lots of greens, yellows, purple. I see an eggplant in there, which is the subject of tonight's meal, as it turns out. There's an avocado. You see fruits in there. You see olive oil, whole grain bread. I mean, it's just amazing display of health in that base of that pyramid. So that needs to be the foundation of how you eat, not just, this is not a thing where it's like, well, I'll have a little sliver of orange on the side of my plate, kind of as a garnish, and then I'm getting my fruits. No, that's not how it works. So if you want to eat like this, you need to have a whole orange on your plate. You need to have, let's say 13, 14 grapes on your plate. You need to have, 2 cups or more of leafy greens when you make a salad. So you need to have big portions of these things. They're not just decorations. Like a lot of us, I think, were raised to think of fruits and vegetables as almost just this little decorative garnish. And it's almost like an apologetic thing. Like, oh yeah, well, we got this little piece of lettuce over here. No, that's not what we want to do. So that's the foundation. And you go up from there. Their main source of meat is meat protein is going to be fish and seafood. And that's really dominant. And that's a big change from how most of us eat. Fish and seafood have been shown to be helpful with heart disease, with the omega-3 fatty acids, from salmon and from various types of fish and seafood products. And it seems like, if you can have 3 servings, even 4 servings a week, that's very beneficial. And, if you can, maybe even make it the dominant source of your meat in your diet. That's kind of the way things are looking in terms of, healthy ways to eat. Above that, you have other types of proteins, so lesser eaten, but still fairly significant. You've got chicken and turkey, so that's still playing a pretty big role. You've got eggs in there. Finally, at the very top, and I apologize how tiny this thing is. It's hard to read, but at the very top, you've got red meat, and sweets. So that's your added sugar. So added sugar is almost non-existent. I mean, you'll see it's still in there. They got this little cup of, I don't know what it is, sorbet or something at the top. But so it's okay to have a treat once in a while. And none of us are saying that you can't ever do that. But it's just making the point that it's really not the main part of this meal plan. Excuse me. So yeah, you also have your, I guess I didn't mention, you have your yogurt, you've got your dairy, so there's some cheese in there. They drink a lot of water, and yes, there is alcohol there. So that question comes up, so do I want to drink a lot of wine? Obviously not. In fact, I mean, the more research comes out about alcohol, it just seems to me that less is better. If you can just not drink it at all, you're probably best off. If you're going to drink it, the guidelines say for women, no more than 1 drink a day, for men, no more than 2 drinks a day. So if you want to have your glass of wine for dinner and you've been doing that, that's part of your rituals going back for generations or whatever, then it's okay, to have that glass of wine, but it is not needed for health or longevity. It's probably not necessarily helping your health and longevity, but it's not necessarily hurting you as long as it's kept limited. That's kind of the way the thinking is going now. I know there's been studies in the past with red wine, and there's some chemicals in red wine that are beneficial, yada yada. You can get those same chemicals from grapes without the alcohol. So eat some grapes, get the benefit of the wine without getting the alcohol, and you're good to go. The other thing I would say is you can use wine in cooking, and I do that a lot. I like how it tastes, and that way you boil off the alcohol and it's fine. So, so as far as the definitions, again, from what I said earlier, definitions are a little fuzzy, so take this all with a grain of salt. No food pun intended. According to the American Heart Association, it's based on a diet of 16 countries bordering the Mediterranean Sea. Again, as we saw in that pyramid, it's high in fruits, vegetables, bread and cereals, potatoes, beans, nuts, seeds. Olive oil is the predominant fat. Very little red meat, less than a serving per week. So it's dominated by fish and seafood, again. And then you've got poultry and dairy. kind of bringing up the rear. 0 to 4 eggs per week, kind of low in wine. And then, so the fat content, sometimes this comes up. I've had dietitians say, well, it's actually, Mediterranean diet's not a low-fat diet, it's a high-fat diet. So the fat can be a little higher than USDA, but it's really not a high-fat diet, honestly, at least the ones that I've been looking at, because they emphasize olive oil. I think some people think it's a high-fat diet, but I mean, it's really, I would say it's moderate fat. It's not low fat, but it's not high fat. It's just normal fat. So anyway, seafood again is double what the USDA guidelines are. So USDA says about 16 ounces per week. So, but the USDA guidelines may change to reflect this eventually. I don't know. They're always updating these, but anyway, I would say those are the main differences between the MyPlate USDA and Mediterranean. Is a little bit more kind of olive oil fat and definitely a lot more seafood and fish. So otherwise very close. So research continues to show superior health results of this meal pattern. So again, prevention of heart disease, increased lifespan, and healthy aging. So those are all things we all want. So even if you're not talking about, weight, obesity, weight loss, or any of that, you're skinny as can be, you still want to do this. I mean, it's a smart way to eat, basically. There was a study that was kind of a landmark paper. It's called the PREDIMED study. And there was a randomized controlled trial, excuse me, with over 7,000 participants in Spain. And it's pretty wild to have that big of a trial, just looking at a type of diet or type of food pattern, and being randomized, controlled. So that's kind of your standard for research, is to have that type of trial. It was published in 2013, and they found so they compared the Mediterranean diet versus a kind of a typical low-fat diet. So that's more like the USDA patterns, the low-fat. And again, the main difference is the oil and the fish, really. Heart disease risk declined by 30% as compared to the low-fat diet. So here you're comparing two diets. Both of them are pretty healthy. I mean, low-fat diet is not an unhealthy diet, but compared to that, it was still better with heart disease. So to me, that seemed pretty profound and pretty significant. So again, if you can sort of make the change more towards this diet, I think it could have some long-term benefits for you. Mediterranean diet has been ranked #1 among this U.S. News and World Report. So that magazine comes out with a kind of best of ranking every year. They have best graduate schools and best high schools and all kinds of best ratings. But they do this health best diet rating every year. And they just came out with the 2021 report, as it turns out, this month. And you can go online, go to health.usnews.com. I mentioned this little link there, and it came out too late for the materials that I'm emailing to you guys from this class, but I'm actually mentioned in the U.S. News and World Report January online issue. They interviewed me, which is kind of exciting. I've never been interviewed by a major magazine in my life, so it's kind of cool. So if you want to hear some of my comments again, you can go to their website, and they paired me along with the guy from America's Test Kitchen, and shoot, I forget his name now. I think it's Bishop. I want to say his last name is Bishop, but that's a program that's on PBS that's been on for, I don't know, probably 10 or 15 years. And he reviews various gadgets for the kitchen and various, recipes and things. So it was pretty cool to kind of be in his company on that website. Pretty unexpected, so that was fun. So anyway, they rate this diet as the best for a lot of different categories: best diabetic diet, best heart healthy, easiest to follow, best plant-based diet, best diet for healthy eating, best. So I tend to agree with them. I think it's pretty hard to beat. So Mediterranean type diets containing fiber and fruits and vegetables reduce risk of weight gain and overweight, obesity. So there is some benefit specific to overweight and obesity. And a lot of that, I feel, does come from the fiber. Anything I can do to pass along that message to my patients and to my friends and whoever that they need to eat more fruits and vegetables, this helps with that. So there you go. There is also a risk, a reduction in cancer risk, and that was studied by the American Institute of Cancer Research as part of they have a continuous update project. They went through and they, every few years, they research all the research, and they provide kind of consensus guidelines on what we should do for cancer. And Mediterranean diet came up, and they see 17% cancer risk reduction. And that's with whole grains. So guys, keep that in mind when your friends are saying you got to cut carbs, no, keto's the way. If whole grains are very healthy part of your diet, and if you are to do super low carb and keto, and that's a whole nother debate for another time. That's a whole nother talk actually, is low carb probably, but just keep in mind there are benefits. There are health benefits for whole grains, which have carbohydrate on them. Beans are also very, very significant for your health. So anyway, today's Mediterranean meal. So we're going to transfer to the fun part here. And let's see, I got about 30 minutes. That's just about enough time. So before we actually start doing the cooking, I'll tell you a little bit about this meal and why it's a healthy meal, which is kind of fun to do. So this is an eggplant, cheese, and tomato bake, and I did not invent this recipe. That's not me standing there. There's somebody from American Heart Association that filmed this. And what it contains is eggplant, uses olive oil, tomatoes, garlic, onion, mushrooms, some low-fat ricotta cheese, and zucchini. So what this is basically is I know we were just knocking carbs, but this is a low-carb lasagna. So, if you want to reduce your carbohydrates, this would actually work for you. This is a fairly low carb. It does have carbohydrates, but it's let's see, how many carbs does it have? 20 grams of carb, I think, or something like that. Yeah, 20 grams of carb. So it's pretty low carb. Anyway, but it's low calorie, extremely healthy. So I wanted to go through this with you guys. So why is it healthy? So this is a meal that's low in fat and saturated fat. So the saturated fat, again, is the real key there. We want to reduce that, keep that low. It's low in sodium. So for heart health, this comes off the American Heart Association website. So you can kind of imagine they're going to be concerned with heart health. So you got the low sodium for blood pressure concerns. That's going to help you with your blood pressure. And moderate in protein. It's not what I'd call high protein. It doesn't, this is kind of a vegetarian dish. It really doesn't have a tremendous amount, but it's got enough, and it's about 9 grams of protein. It's okay. And it's high in fiber and antioxidants. I think those are where it really sort of shines. It's got all these amazing benefits from these vegetables in there that we can talk about here in a second. It's low in calories. I don't want to get that to short shrift. So yeah, low in calories, that helps you lose weight, obviously. So for a serving of this, it's only 160 calories. For somebody like myself, I suspect for many of you in the audience, I need to double that up. So I would have 2 servings of about 320 calories at least for that. And then I would have some sides with it. But anyway, it's very low in calories. So eggplant. Why do we want eggplant? So eggplant is a good source for potassium. A lot of vegetables are good sources of potassium, and that can help with regulating blood pressure. It's good for your heart health. It's got some fancy antioxidants, one called zeaxanthin. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's an antioxidant, helps with vision. So antioxidants are these chemicals that kind of help bring down what they call oxidative stress in our bodies. And that's thought to be beneficial to our health in general. It's sort of an anti-inflammatory kind of process, brings down these stresses. There's still a lot of research going on with these. You can't really take them as a supplement by themselves. They don't seem to have any good beneficial benefit, but when you find them in foods, somehow they seem to really be helpful. So there's a little bit of debate about them, and but anyway, we do know that eggplant has them, and that eggplant has this benefit that can help somewhat with vision with this antioxidant chemical. Fiber, Fiber is in a lot of vegetables and fruits, very, very important for our health, particularly our gut health. So I stress this a lot with my patients that, you know, there is something called the gut microbiome that's out there. It's a constellation of bacteria that's in your gut, and everyone has a different set of these bacteria, different levels of different species and whatnot. Eating a lot of fiber helps to feed and nourish the healthy gut bacteria, and that in turn can help regulate hunger and make you feel more full, more satisfied. It also can help you prevent, getting things like colon cancer. Fiber is just very important. So zucchini, what does zucchini bring to the table? Again, potassium, fiber, got a different antioxidant, this lutein. Again, it's kind of connected with visual function. And these vegetables have other minerals in them than the ones I'm just listing. These are not all they're known for, but the other amounts are a little lower in amount. So I'm kind of listing some of the ones that are more significant in terms of, more of a significant impact on your daily needs. Tomatoes, probably a lot of us might be aware they're a good source of vitamin C. Again, another antioxidant. So you see antioxidant, antioxidant, antioxidant. That's a theme here. So all these things are going to sort of help with that oxidative stress and help with that portion of your health. So that's significant. Vitamin C is also part of our immune health. That's why you see, people overdosing in vitamin C when they get on an airplane. I mean, that's part of that. It also helps with collagen formation, and it helps with your protein metabolism. It plays a lot of different roles in your body. It's not just for immune health. Lycopene, again, another antioxidant. This one seems to be associated with heart health. So you're getting, all these different colors of vegetables, all these different antioxidants. Antioxidants are associated usually with these different colors, and it's bringing all these different amazing, benefits to the table, literally. Garlic, influence in reducing inflammation, antioxidant again, anti-cancer benefits are being researched with it. Also good for heart health, seems to reduce some lipids. And again, it doesn't mean you need to go out and have a ton of garlic because it's going to make your cholesterol good. These are subtle benefits. Your statin medications are certainly going to have a much more profound effect on lipids than garlic will. But it's another piece in the puzzle, and it can help out, so that's good. Onions, vitamin C again, and selenium. Selenium is another antioxidant. High fiber for gut health and heart health. Mushrooms. So some mushrooms, I just kind of learned this today. I didn't really know this, but apparently mushrooms that are grown with sunlight, more sunlight, can actually have pretty significant vitamin D content. But apparently most mushrooms, as some of the sayings go, I'm not going to repeat here, are grown in the dark. So, some of them don't really have much vitamin D, but some do. They're being investigated for anti-cancer benefits, and we know they have some anti-inflammatory, I misspelled that, anti-inflammatory, sorry about that, benefits. This table is not something that you're going to be quizzed on or anything. It's just, I threw this in here because this is the official guidelines from USDA for adults. And it gives you the amounts that you should have of all these different vegetables. And what this illustrates is you want to have a mixture of different types of fruits and vegetables in your diet throughout the day, throughout the week. So these are weekly goals. So when you look at vegetables, you have dark green vegetables, you have red and orange vegetables, you have beans, peas, and lentils, you have starchy vegetables, and you have other vegetables. So you want to have all these different types of vegetables in your diet to get maximum benefit. If you really, really want to eat as perfect as you can and just really boost that nutrition to the absolute limit, that's what you want to follow. You want to have all those different colors spread throughout your week. That would really be an intense, amazing diet. And I try to achieve that. Some weeks I do, some weeks I don't. But there you go. I'll hold off on the questions for now. What I'm going to do is switch the camera over to the stovetop and try to, it's going to be a little bit of fumbling here, so just bear with me for a little bit. And what I'm going to do is switch this off. And hopefully you guys can see the kitchen screen, the kitchen stovetop. So if anyone can't see it, say something. I'm assuming everyone can see it because I'm not seeing anything going on there. So I'm going to try to aim this a little bit downward so hopefully you can see the pot. All right. So what this recipe is you first have to start out by roasting eggplant and onions and zucchini on a baking sheet for about 10 minutes, actually about 20 minutes, 25 minutes at 375. And speaking of which, I'm going to go ahead and set this thing for 375. I've done you guys the benefit of already pre-roasting all this because no one's going to want to sit here for 20 minutes while this stuff roasts. I know I wouldn't. I'm assuming nobody else would want to do that. So we took care of that. However, what we can do in the time that we've got is do a simple saute of some mushrooms. So what I'm going to do is fire up my little pot here on the stove, and we'll set it to a number here. This is an induction top, and what that is it's kind of a crazy high-tech top that we got with this house, and it relies on kind of a rapidly changing magnetic field to induce currents in a conducting pot. So this is stainless steel, conducts electricity really well. And so what's happening is when I turn this thing on, it's putting current through the pot and heating up the metal very rapidly. So the advantage of this kind of stovetop is you can reach your boiling temperature in a matter of seconds. It's really crazy. In fact, I have a lot of problems with water boiling over on this stovetop because in about 2 minutes, it's just going crazy. So, but it's really nice for doing cooking demos. It's nice just to use because it's so fast. And it's very, very controllable. It's kind of like gas. You can dial these things up and down with this little digital control, and it works real well. So anyway, so what I got here is olive oil. Well, it's supposed to be olive oil. I think I actually used some canola oil in there. I said you could use either one. Olive oil will give you a little bit more, probably a little more health benefit than the canola, but either one's okay. It's just about 2 teaspoons of the canola oil in there. So I'm just heating that up a little bit. And what I've done is pre-cut some mushrooms. So these are just, Kroger kind of white, I guess button mushrooms, whatnot, white mushrooms. So I already pre-sliced these. This is about 3 cups mushrooms. And the way I read this, so normally when you say in a recipe 3 cups something, and then you say comma sliced, that means you measure it out 3 cups first, and then you slice it. That's sort of the nomenclature. I'm not sure if that's what they intended here or not, so I might be a little short on mushrooms because I don't think this is 3 cups of sliced mushrooms, but it was 3 cups of mushrooms that I then sliced. So anyway, adjust mushrooms as you desire. And what I want to do is just saute these for a little bit. And then along with that, I want to add garlic and some pepper and a little bit of water is what they recommend. It must be a chef's thing because I'm not exactly sure why they want the water in there. Maybe it keeps it from drying out or something. So I got that pre-measured so that you don't have to watch me measuring out stuff. It's just like a cooking show. Got everything in these little containers. So I'm going to stir this around and saute this. And they say to let this go for about 10 minutes, I think is what they say. 6 minutes. So what I can do is put a timer on here. I always find it takes me a little longer to do whatever it is I'm supposed to do than what they tell me I'm supposed to do. I'll just sort of keep an eye on it here, make sure, it doesn't burn them. And let's see here. What I can probably do to speed up a little bit too is I'll just put the lid on it just a little bit. And so what we're going to do is when that's done, we will add some diced tomatoes, tomato sauce, and basil. So I've got that already pre-measured out as well. So that's this big container back here. See the red color there. So that's ready to go in there once the mushrooms are ready to go. And then what we'll do when that's cooked for a few minutes, so they want that to kind of simmer for 10 minutes or so, then that's pretty much it. What comes after that is an assembly process. It's exactly like making lasagna. So you put down a layer of eggplant and zucchini and onion at the bottom of a lasagna pan. So I got out the lasagna pan here, sprayed some olive oil on that. And so we're going to finish off today by just putting down a layer of that, the eggplant and the squash, and then putting some ricotta cheese on top of that, and then putting about half of the sauce in there, if I'm reading it right, and a layer of mozzarella. And then we will do another layer of the eggplant mixture with the zucchini and onion, another layer of sauce, etc. And then we sort of top it off with mozzarella and some breadcrumbs. So that's the rundown of that whole situation. And should be all done here in about 20 minutes, which should take us to about 7:30, which is what I was hoping for here. I don't want to go too far over time because I know we all have other things we want to do tonight, probably. So while this is going, I can take some questions. That looks like there is a question. Please change your screen share to full screen. Full screen. Is that an issue with this right now? Are you guys only seeing it in a tiny little screen? Someone chime in if that's the case. I can't tell the way it's being displayed. Anyone? Let's see, full screen. Does that do anything? Tiny screen, really? Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, there's always something with this technology, it seems like. What is going on with that? Layout. Let's see, hide names and videos. Oh, it does that. I think I've had this happen before. I'm not sure why it is doing that. Let's see, don't mirror my video, change virtual background, camera settings. Huh. Tiny screen. Let's see. Well, somebody else said it was fine for them. Maybe it's a view setting on their computer. Yeah, that could be. Yeah, because I don't think I can do anything from my side. Yeah, this is on a computer. So it actually says I'm in full screen. I have the option to exit full screen. So now I've exited full screen. It says participants can change in right upper corner the layout pin. Okay, so guys, try that out. Yeah, try that out. There's a layout pin apparently for you guys. I don't see the same type of thing, I guess is what you're seeing. So yeah, hopefully you guys can blow it up a little bit bigger for you on your side. It doesn't look like I can do a lot of changes here. Let's see, show participant. Oh, that doesn't look good. Let's see. Okay. Someone said choose focus. Okay, focus. Okay. Others will continue to see my video, minimize my self view. Yeah, it says others will continue to see my video. Okay, well, that's good. All right, so hopefully hopefully that takes care of that. Sorry about if there's some technical things. I'll have to remember the focus setting for people in the future so they can see it larger. I feel like Zoom works a little differently. Ah, here we go. Little timer's going off, so we're good on the shrooms here. So let's turn that down a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to add in the tomato sauce. There's chopped tomatoes in here, and there's some basil in here. So I'm just going to kind of spoon this into there. And hopefully not make too much of a mess. We'll get rid of that. Alrighty. So, going to stir this around. So this wants to go for another 10 minutes or so. Let's go ahead and do that. So this is just supposed to kind of simmer. And yeah. So there we go on that. So it's already looking pretty spaghetti-ish, lasagna-ish there. So we'll let that go for 10 minutes. As far as the roasted components, I can sort of show you those, I guess, while we're waiting for that. So just put those on a baking sheet, basically. So I chopped up, this is my onion and my zucchini. So I actually had a couple of organic zucchinis because that's what I ran across in the grocery store. They don't have to be organic. And just slice those up to really thin little slices, and I sliced them twice, so you kind of have this half moon shape. And then I took an onion, sliced that up, and laid them out on a cooking sheet that was sprayed with some olive oil. So I've got this spray on Pam olive oil. They've got the olive oil version of Pam. You can get that. And sprayed the sheet, put those out on the sheet along with the eggplant. So I picked up an eggplant at Kroger. It's no longer as purple after you roast it. It kind of turns a darker color. But that's the eggplant slices. So those are kind of, again, half moon kind of shapes there. Roasted those. Smelled really good roasting, all that stuff. And so that's pretty much ready to go. And, you know, we have layers of mozzarella cheese here. This is kind of the low-fat mozzarella cheese. For the layers, we got some breadcrumbs to kind of sprinkle on top. And we got the ricotta cheese in here. So you can kind of get the gist of it there. Let me see, I might have to turn this up a little bit because that's some pretty cold sauce, I think. So we want to get that simmering. But I got to watch it because, you know, this thing will boil over. You guys will probably see it boiling over while I'm talking and looking at the computer. Like, hey, look at that. Thing's boiling over. So yeah, basically if I hit a couple buttons on here, this thing will be boiling instantly. So I have to kind of dial it down and just be careful with that and make sure it's okay. I tend to always sort of have my lid at a little bit of an angle, let some of the steam off. I suppose you could just cover it all the way and then just manage the heat setting so that it doesn't boil too fast. I don't know, I've sort of gotten in the habit of always kind of doing this with a little half on lid thing. So anyway, so anyone have any questions? Let's see, did you peel the eggplant? No, for this one, they don't peel it. They just slice it and roast it basically. So that's all there was to it. I am not I have to confess, I don't eat a lot of eggplant. So it could be that in a lot of recipes you do peel it. This one, they don't. So, you know, it usually adds more fiber if you can tolerate these skins, sort of like with a potato. You get a lot more potassium and fiber if you eat the skin of the potato. Some people really don't like that. You know, I've been told you can eat the core of an apple, and there's a lot of things. I guess you can eat the core of a corn cob too. I don't think anyone ever does that. There's a lot of these things are edible, I guess, and have nutrition, but they're just not maybe not as commonly done. But so if any of you have any questions, anything that we discussed earlier, feel free to chime in now. This is probably a good time to chat a bit. We got another 5 minutes while this thing boils and simmers. Any other questions out there? I'm happy to see there's still a lot of folks in the room. So you guys, I didn't bore you guys too much. You're still in there. That's great. So I appreciate it. It's been kind of fun to have a pretty big group here. I'm recording the video for future storage as well, so people could see it again if they missed it or they missed part of it. If you have to leave early tonight, you can't see the final outcome. I think there might be a way we could get the video to you. I'm still working on that. Right now, it's kind of complicated for that, but we might eventually have a way. I think if you're an employee at Carilion, we can get a way for you to see it, but otherwise, it might be a little more challenging to get you the video. But anyway, yeah. So this is just kind of cruising along here. So any questions? Anything from the last hour or so of me talking that you guys had a question on? Feel free. Post it in the notes. You can even unmute if you'd like and ask it. That's fine.
I do have a question, Delbert. What is your thoughts about air frying?
Oh, I'm a big fan of air frying. A lot of people use that now. It's kind of really gaining popularity. I feel like it sort of exploded around the time that these crock pots, not crock pot, what do they call it? I've got one of these up here. The
Instapots?
Instapot, yes. Thank you. Yeah, Instapot, air fryers, all those things are really helpful. A great way to kind of have the texture of a fried product without using anything but hot air, basically. So yeah, I kind of see it sort of like I do with the air pop popcorn. That's another kind of application like that. Yeah, I wanted to get one actually, mainly just for my own education. I was thinking about getting one for Christmas, and I got a birthday coming up. Maybe I need to ask for one of those. I mean, I don't think they're super expensive or anything. My wife and I don't really eat a lot of fried foods, but I know she really likes French fries, and I've heard that those are really good for French fries. So that might be a good use for that. Alrighty, I've got another comment down here. Allergic against tomatoes, you can use pepper and vinegar. Yeah. Let me see here. This thing, I don't want it to boil over. Do not forget to use cumin to help with bloating due to veggies without grains, or eat bread with it. Not really familiar with that. Bloating without cumin. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. But yeah, I don't see a lot of allergies to tomatoes. I'm sure they do exist. There's food allergies to just about everything out there. So yeah, if you have food allergies to tomatoes, definitely this would be something you'd need to watch out for sure. It's pretty heavy on tomato. You love yours, yeah. I've heard really good things about the air fryers, and they're real popular right now. I tried to get my sister one, but she didn't seem to want it. So I was hoping she could tell me how she liked it. But yeah, certainly.
Are there healthy meals snacks rather to have with the Mediterranean diet?
Yeah, so one of the handouts I'm gonna email to you guys, it should come on an email after the class is done. It gives you a few tips on a few healthy snacks. You're kind of looking at things like yogurt with berries. There's a hummus snack that's on there. hummus with a pita or pita wedges. So yeah, I mean, you're looking at things that are fruits and vegetables with lean protein, basically, plant-based protein or lean protein.
So are these snacks, would they be eaten between your 3 regular meals?
Yeah, so what's suggested, I guess, as a pattern for eating for weight loss is to kind of spread your calories out. So, and everyone's different, so there's not a one size fits all. There are some people that I don't think they'll ever eat a snack. They just don't like snacks. It just doesn't fit into their lifestyle. But for a lot of people, if they have like a mid-morning snack or a mid-afternoon snack, that really helps to kind of regulate, keep their appetite kind of down so they're not feeling like they're starving at the end of the day. A lot of times that's what happens is we kind of get to the dinner time and we're just ravenous, So those are 2 good times to kind of work in a healthy little snack. And, a lot of my patients are doing that. Not all of them, but some of them are doing that. The late night snack, I tend to shy away from advocating that. I know some of the menus that we've had over the years, dietitians have had, they have had kind of an evening snack, but there is more research lately about what they call intermittent fasting and the idea of sort of having a longer period overnight where you don't eat anything. That seems to be beneficial maybe with some of your hormone levels and things. It's still kind of, I think some of that research is not totally fleshed out yet, but it's one of those things where, it's not going to hurt you to not eat late at night. And actually, eating late at night often can cause acid reflux. And so that's something you don't want to really do either. So I just tell people, do the mid-afternoon and the mid-morning snacks and call it good usually. And, unless you need to have a late night snack, sometimes diabetics need something for their blood sugar. But for most folks, you sort of want to go ahead and allow yourself to have that overnight fast for the weight loss. So this thing is done boiling. So now it gets to be the fun part where you get to see me try to layer this thing together. So now keep in mind with this, and I probably should have said that at the beginning, I am not what I would call a chef or even a particularly amazing cook. I do this because I need to do it for my health. Like this to me, I mean, I don't hate cooking, but it is not a thriving passion, I guess. It's something that I do because I need to do it and I know it's important. So some of you may be better, likely you're probably better cooks than I am. You may have techniques that are a little better than what you see in some of these recipes that are online or whatever. And that's okay. I mean, this is just to get across the idea that anyone can do this, that, this is pretty simple, not real hard to do. And, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're not looking for perfection. We're just looking for kind of something that tastes good, that's easy, that's low in calorie and healthy. So that's sort of the objective here. So if you see some kooky stuff or like, oh, I don't know why he's doing that, just be aware, yeah, he's not a chef. So you may see something like that. Layer half of the eggplant, zucchini, and onion. So what I was going to do is kind of layer this eggplant down. Actually, I think before that, they want me to put the mixture on the bottom. So I got ahead of myself. So what we want to do is about half of this mixture goes on the bottom. And I think to save time, I'm going to use a bigger spoon here because that's a little ridiculous. So here we go. Shovel that stuff in there. Let's fill up the bottom of this. Not splatter it too much on my clothes. And they said if you have kids that you can get them involved doing this, that they'd have fun sort of doing the layers. I guess kind of like making lasagna, basically. It smells really good. I wish you guys could smell it, but we don't have smell-o-vision yet. Maybe that's a good thing too, I don't know. Anyway, so we got the bottom layer there, and I can go ahead and start layering some of this good stuff on there. So I'm going to go ahead and just put down the layer of the eggplants first. It's kind of pretty. It's kind of like a little thing of art, I guess, all these different colors and shapes and things. So that's kind of fun too. I could see, kids could probably enjoy doing this. So let's see, put that in there. roughly get half of the eggplant used up. That's probably about half. So, and then I've got the other container here of the squash. All right, so I'm just going to get my hands in here because it's just probably easier. So this is just sort of a mixture of squash and onions. I'm just going to sort of sprinkle through there. I can tell you the roasted onions with the zucchini and the eggplant, when they're all roasting, it really smelled good in here. And my wife came home later from work and she's like, oh, it smells really good in here. It's like, yep. When I get the onions just to where they just start to kind of brown, it's like they kind of get the edges. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but like, you know, kind of little tinge of brown on the edge. You know, they get that caramelization, and that's when it really starts to smell good. Brings out some more flavor. So got that accomplished, and let's see, layer all of the ricotta. So I want to get my ricotta dish out. This one, they have a video. If you go to the American Heart Association webpage, that's where this recipe comes from. Video of a lady on there making this. I could tell when she spread this cheese that it was a little bit challenging. It doesn't really spread. You kind of just glop it on there. So I would suggest maybe just little lumps of cheese where you sort of roughly want the cheese, and maybe good luck trying to spread that, but you can kind of more or less get it where you want it there, and it doesn't have to be perfect or anything. I think she even says that in the video. She's like, you know, this doesn't have to look perfect, you know, it's just get it on there as best you can. So that's what that is. And so then I think we just repeat. So repeat layers with another. So I got this mixture again. So we put this back on with this mushrooms. Got that there. Alrighty, so there we go. Got that layered. And then we're going to repeat with these guys again. So I'm just going to lay these out again. Kind of roughly just cover the space there with the eggplants. Oh, we're going a little over on time. Well, we're just about done anyway here. So just about to wrap it up. Looks like a piece of skin came off of that one. All right. So go back to our squash, get the squash and onion back in the picture. I got the oven on in the background, so after we're done here tonight, I'm just going to pop this in the oven. I'm going to eat some of this tonight. This is my dinner, guys, so it's not just for the cameras. This is what I'm eating, so it better be good. All righty, and I think oh, you know what? I did miss something there. I missed some of the mozzarella. Oops. So, all righty, so I already violated the recipe, so my mozzarella is going to have to go all on top. You're supposed to put a layer of mozzarella in between, but mine is just going to be on the top. That's okay, whatever. It's going to taste all the same. It's going to be a big, mushy, tasty thing, regardless. Some people might prefer to put all on top anyway, kind of like a pizza. So there we go. So the mozzarella is there, and then the very top of it, they want us to put the breadcrumbs. So we're going to do that. And if you guys have any other questions or anything, now's the time. Someone was talking about some sorbet instead of the milky ice cream. So there's some breadcrumbs. Now what you want to do with breadcrumbs, if you can, is get whole grain breadcrumbs. These are just sort of your generic plain breadcrumbs. These aren't anything fancy. But you can get I guess, panko breadcrumbs and whole grain, whole wheat breadcrumbs and things like that. I feel like this is a lot of breadcrumbs. I don't know. I'm doing what they called for, but I think I'm gonna call it good with the breadcrumbage there. That's kind of getting intense. So, but that's it. That's topped off, and then all I got to do is load this thing in the oven. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we're all set. So got 375, and we just do it for 30. It says 30 to 45 minutes. So I'll go ahead and do that. Alrighty, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me see if I can swing the camera around, and we'll kind of conclude that way. Let me take this thing off again. Alrighty, put it back on the computer here. Okay, so hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for sticking it out here and watching all the cooking. I hope that was kind of fun. And sorry if some of the video was chopped off there. Camera mount here is not cooperating that well, so I'll just kind of hold it, I guess. So there we go. Alrighty, so thank you guys. Any final questions, any comments, anything I can help you guys with? All right, you're welcome. It's a lot of fun for me, and it's been a few months since I did one of these, so we're kind of looking to do some more maybe. I'm going to be doing another one with one of my coworkers, Angela from Community, and she and I are going to team up in about, I guess, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So keep an eye out for that. It's another free WebEx, and we'll kind of be covering a lot of the same topics as tonight. I won't be doing the cooking segment. The cooking is kind of a bonus for tonight, but we'll be covering a lot of the same topics. If you want to kind of see this again, or maybe there's some things that you missed and you want to make sure you catch next time. Yeah, if you guys have any suggestions for future classes, I think there should be some feedback that will be emailed to you that you can send. There should be like a feedback form, I think, or you can always send me an email. There's contact information that's going to be sent to you guys. So I always appreciate suggestions for new classes, because that can kind of get rolled in and give me some ideas for things to talk about next time. Yes, and yeah, I will send an email. So, and that's the other thing to let you guys know. So all of you guys that are here tonight, you'll get emails for any upcoming classes. So you're already sort of rolled into that. So, you know, unless you choose to unsubscribe, you'll be on that mailing list. So you're not going to miss anything. Down the road, I'm going to do, well, I hope I'm going to do a class that's outdoors at the community garden at Carilion. That's still kind of up in the air as far as what date. I think it's going to be probably like April or something. So that'll be kind of interesting. I'm not sure what we're going to do for that yet, but anyway, thanks again. Appreciate the comments. Appreciate all the membership here, and hope you guys have a great evening. Alrighty, bye for now.
Take care, Delbert.
Take care.
See.
Oh, you kind of cut out there, Steve. Alrighty, you guys take care.